So for our Change Nexus for iMIS use case today, we're going to use Change Nexus to send a calendar invitation to a new registrant for an event in iMIS. And we're going to do that using the Power Automate utility. Okay, so we're in the Change Nexus configuration screen here. We're going to add a connection that is going to listen for event registrations in iMIS and then send that webhook to Power Automate, and Power Automate is going to send a calendar invitation for us. So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to have to set up a Power Automate, and we're also going to set up a new connection in here. Now for automations, it's often best to use the ultimate tier. So we're going to jump straight in and actually set that up in advance. So we have our collection, our sample collection here in this folder. Since we're creating a new ultimate tier connection, we're just going to make a copy and a paste of that. Be sure to create a new copy. Now iMIS is going to create all of those IQAs for us. And remember that each connection can be configured multiple different ways, so this is really just the start of things. Now we have copy of samples here, and all we need to do now is rename that to match what we're going to call our Power Automate connection. So we'll call it Power Calendar to keep it simple. Okay, so we have that there. And we're going to have a look in here. In our example, we're going to be listening for event registrations created. So this is the IQA that's going to run. So we're just going to check that out, see what kind of information we're passing. Let's pass all of this just for today, but we could modify that accordingly as well. So we have all of these fields from our event registration, which is great, but we want to be able to send a calendar invite, so we have a problem, right? We don't have the contact details, we don't have some basic handy information like the actual name of the event, we just have the code. But that's where the ultimate tier becomes really great, because we can add these things into our IQA. So the first thing we'll do is we want that event title, because we want to put it in our personalization, so we'll add CS event in, and we'll create a join so that we have the registration event code equaling the CS event code. Now with that join, we're going to be able to add the title of the event, and that's going to be very useful. We could also add some of these extra bits of information, such as the address or description or directions. So let's add those in as well. Finally, we need a little bit more information about the person. So we're going to bring in our fairly classic one in here. And we're going to make, because we want to email the registrant, we're going to connect this up here. So it's going to be CS contact iMIS ID is going to link to the registration ship to ID, which is the person who was registered. So once we add that, we're able to add some personalization fields in. For example, we might want full name, and of course we're going to want email, because we want to be able to email this to them. We're going to refresh, and we now have these two fields available to us. We can also remove fields that we don't need. We may not want this information, for example. Refresh that, that's perfectly fine, we can remove that. So now that we've got that, what we need to do now is set up our flow. we're going to create a new flow, new automated flow. We're going to skip this part. We're going to add our trigger. The trigger is how we start our automation. So we're typing in HTTP, and we're going to choose request because that's how Power Automate listens for webhooks. Now we need to do something. We need to teach Power Automate how to understand what we're sending it. So we're going to use a sample payload to generate the schema. Now we have a tool that's going to make this really easy. In here we have the Change Nexus payload helper. What we do is we simply select the IQA that we're going to run. So we're going to go into Change Nexus, find our Power Calendar and the event registration created IQA that we updated. It's then going to ask us to put in some prompts. Now I'm going to use Celebrate Staff, which is an event that we have, and we need to give it the ID of somebody who's already registered. Now we're going to generate a payload, and it's giving you an example of a registration here. Now we can switch back to Power Automate and simply paste that in, because that copied it, that little helper utility copied that to your clipboard. Now that we've taught Power Automate how to understand the webhook, we're going to add an action, which is going to be to create an event in a calendar. So I've just started typing that, and we can see we've got create event under the Outlook section. Here we choose the calendar that we're going to put it into, and we start to do our personalizations. So in here we have all of those fields, and we're going to search for the title that we added. So these are dynamic fields that will change. We need a start and end date for our event, so we're going to go in here and look for that information that we had too. There it is, begin date, and then end date. I'm going to set a time zone. I'm currently in Lisbon, so I'm just going to set it to UTC 0. Now that we've done that, we can actually start to do some more interesting personalization. So we can show the advanced parameters. So I'm switching to advanced mode so that works a little easier for me. And then we're going to find our email that we added. And I also just want a copy going to myself just to make sure. So that I can see it. And in here we can get into the body of the email. So we can do some more personalization. Sorry, the body of the calendar invitation. So we might use at this point full name. There you go. And a bit of the same. So thank you for registering. And here we can add in some of the useful information like the description of the event. And also directions, if we actually defined any on our event. And these are things coming out of the IQA. And that's all we need to do for now. We can save this. And we have a flow, and it's telling us it's ready to go. So at this point though, we just need to switch back to our trigger, and now we have an endpoint URL, and this is what we've been waiting for. we can switch back to iMIS, and we're actually going to add our connection to this Power Automate. So we're finally going to add the connection. So in here, it's important that we use the description that we set up earlier. Power calendar. Now we can paste in the URL that we got from the Power Automate. We set it to active, add our license key. We're going to use Ultimate because we want to use that IQA, and we're only going to listen for event registrations. We don't want to know about all the rest of this stuff. We're just looking at event registrations, so we leave all of the rest of them blank. We save and close, and that's it. It's set up and it's ready to go. So when we do an event registration, we should actually see things start to happen. So let's switch over to an event. And we have Celebrate Staff waiting for us here. Now I'm going to register myself. I'm going to choose an option here for our event. And I'm going to proceed to check out. This isn't a registration until you check out, obviously. At the moment it's just in my cart. Okay, so for testing I'm just going to choose to pay later, and we'll submit my order. So we've completed a registration at this point. We should be getting a calendar invite any minute now. So finally, when we come to our calendar, you can see that we've received the Outlook calendar. You can see that it's personalized, it's talking about the event, we've got the description and the directions. So that is basically the end of the demonstration of this use case. Thanks for watching. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with us if you have any other questions or ideas on other use cases you would like to see. Also, don't forget to check out our website and our other use case videos.